Through the COVID-19 pandemic, it has become increasingly clear that factions of the capitalist class intend to use a combination of emerging technologies to rapidly reshape our world. Automation, VR, autonomous robots, etc. These tendencies toward a high-technology society are all intensifying, bringing us closer to what the bourgeoisie term the Fourth Industrial Revolution. For example, internet usage rose around 20% across the world over 2020, with a particular concentration in the imperialist nations. Globally, around 55% of products and services were fully or partially digitized by July 2020, an increase of around 20% since December 2019. Surveys by Deloitte and McKinsey suggest that over half of executives have deployed automation in their response to the pandemic. All this has served to popularize prior speculation on the possibility of a new class society arising from capitalism's ashes, termed digital feudalism. This describes an economy where the rent of digitized commodities has replaced the purchase of commodities outright as the primary form of exchange. It is not hard to see the basis for such speculation. As we have argued, capitalism is falling into its final crisis as the laws of accumulation which govern production break down. In this breakdown, it is clear that the technology sector could form into a force capable of producing a new form of class power in the form of digital landlords. Indeed, it is even reasonable to suggest that this process may already be happening, as Facebook's decision to ban all Australian news content from its platform in an attempt to prevent regulation on the 17th of February, or legislation presently under consideration in Nevada to allow technology companies to form their own local governments, police forces, and tax laws seem to indicate. In this video, we will look at a fundamental material requirement of such a digital feudalism, the so-called Internet of Things.
If you convert your home to an Ultra House 3000, you'll never have to do housework again.
No housework, eh?
Did you see those drapes? Yes.
Give me a hug.
Good morning, Rowan.
Good morning, Miko.
The Internet of Things refers simply to the increasing proliferation of devices connected to the Internet, from smart TVs to Internet-connected children's dolls and thermostats. Each of these devices forms a point in this ever-connected web of commodities. Whilst these devices are marketed on the basis of adding utility to prior forms of technology, their real utility is masked. A few examples. Vehicular monitoring systems, which promise to improve a driver's abilities by coaching them on their performance and to render car theft impossible, are really intended to provide surety to insurance companies as they adjust quotes in real time, to gather data for marketing based upon when and where a user drives, and even to allow greater ease for repossessions, granting companies the ability to lock cars if payments are missed. Smart home devices, which offer the ability to control parts of a house or its utilities with just your voice, are used to monitor homes and their inhabitants, generating data for marketing or even automatically purchasing certain commodities in more extreme examples. In this sense, the Internet of Things represents the extension of an already existing process into a qualitatively new form of power. The spread of data accumulation, representing a process akin to the coalescence or merging of finance and industrial capital observed by the Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin at the start of the 20th century. As capital accumulation feasts on the surety brought by data, it is becoming ever more dependent upon it. This is gradually producing a new power relation between industries, data accumulation slowly subsuming capital. Although the technology sector is presently confined to primarily ideological power and thus incapable of exerting direct control over production, the spread of the Internet of Things stands to change that. For example, 36.6% of US households have already adopted some form of smart home device, granting tech companies power over their homes. And this is expected to rise above 50% by 2025. At a similar rate, the Internet of Things is being embedded in industrial forms of production, thus gaining power over both productive forces and the mass of humanity through both surveillance and digital systems. As such, the Internet of Things represents the material relation which might produce a digital feudalism, with the wholly dispossessed mass of humanity dominated by a digital rentier class. It is for this reason that such a society is impossible in either the long term or at a global scale.
Good old table.
Of the many crises which stand as barriers to the formation of a digital feudalism, notably among them the breakdown of capital as a productive force, one is unshakable: the environmental crisis. The brutal and unprecedented freeze racking Texas provides a clear example of why, illustrating the fragility of modern capitalist infrastructure. Closer examination reveals the vulnerability of energy grids as a rather generalized tendency, with, for example, each of the US's energy grids already running up to or even above capacity, and leaked documents from the Federal Energy Regulation Commission suggesting that just 9 of the US's 55,000 substations breaking could cause coast-to-coast blackouts for up to 18 months. As the rate of natural disasters increases, an increasing reliance on the Internet of Things can only deepen the reach and significance of this fragility, increasing the number of devices and functions requiring both internet and power. As well as increasing our vulnerability to the climate crisis, the construction and maintenance of the Internet of Things under capitalism will significantly deepen it. Where the materials and energy required for constructing and maintaining information technology accounted for just 1% of global emissions in 2000, they had reached around 3.7% of a drastically increased total emissions by 2020, and are set to reach 14% of an even larger total by 2040. Whilst much has been made of the capacity of the Internet of Things to manage energy and resource waste, this is clearly unsustainable. As such, if capital does produce a large enough Internet of Things necessary to create a digital feudalism, it will have produced only a short-term extinction society. This brief examination of the Internet of Things is not intended to promote a Luddite view of the technology which underpins it, for certainly some of this shall find its uses under socialism, nor to deal conclusively with the myriad of processes of technological development capital today holds in its grasp. It is intended to underwrite a simple political principle of our age. The breakdown of capitalist productive relations may only resolve itself in one of two directions: socialism, the lower stage of communism, or extinction, whatever form that may take. The social form of digital feudalism represents one such extinctionism. This reveals a further principle of capital's breakdown. That is, that collapse may take on the appearance of development. As we lunge forward into extinction, capitalism may not simply cease to produce new forms of social organisation or technological progress outright. Rather, it may set them upon the basis of ever-deepening ecological collapse. What is likely to result from this, should it occur, is a partial rollout of such technologies, set against a backdrop of annihilation. In this case, digital fiefdoms ensconced by ruin. The only alternative line of development is that of socialism, the proletariat wresting production into democratic control to save it from ruin, then guiding it toward a renewal of the earth. And we must choose now, before capital seals our fate with its delusional digital cathedrals.